Thanks for joining us on Pete's Corner, a new show that focuses on different corners of the Stillwater community. I'm Courtney Brown. Today, our corner is the Stillwater Humane Society. You may not know it, but the Humane Society is a very popular place. Whether it's for animal lovers or for students trying to earn their community service hours, the Stillwater Humane Society serves the community in a number of ways. Field reporter Brett Rostius takes a deeper look into Stillwater's resident animal house.
Every dog and cat deserves a good family. But for some animals, they are simply waiting for that place to call home. The Humane Society of Stillwater is a non-profit animal shelter that serves homeless dogs and cats in the Stillwater community.
It's to provide a temporary place for these animals until they find their forever homes or a permanent home, and to care for them and keep them safe and healthy until they can find a permanent home.
Being in Stillwater allows college students from Oklahoma State University to volunteer and offer their time for local community service projects.
On our busiest days near the end of a semester, we've had over 250 people walk through our doors in a single day. On a slow day like today, I think we've probably had 25 volunteers today.
Many students who end up volunteering wind up with a new roommate.
So even if it's someone who lives on campus and can't take the dog, but they've come out here, they've worked with this dog, they've fallen in love with this dog, a lot of times they'll encourage close friends or family members to come out and adopt the dogs.
Even with all of the volunteers, there are still plenty of animals that need a new home.
Last month, we adopted 31 cats and 16 dogs.
To keep this place up and running does take a significant amount of resources.
We are completely privately funded. We are not part of the Humane Society of the United States. We don't get anything from United Way or anything like that. So it's all donations, because we are just a small, private, nonprofit shelter. So everything you see here was provided through donations from the public.
So whether you are looking to give money for a good cause, volunteer some spare time, or possibly bring home a new family member, the Humane Society of Stillwater would love the help. In Stillwater, I'm Brett Rostikas, Pete's Corner.
Thanks, Brett. As a private nonprofit, the Stillwater Humane Society relies on volunteer work, especially from students, for most of the work around here, especially in a time of crisis. Caleb Surley has a story on how students have given help to the Humane Society after one of these buildings was damaged this summer. Caleb?
Thank you, Courtney. Here at the Stillwater Humane Society, spirits are high, but what most students don't realize is that their help means more than ever after a major setback this summer.
On July 19th, one of my caretakers had all the dogs outside, and one of them leaned her leg up against one of our cinder block divider walls to tie her shoe, and for some unknown reason the divider wall actually fell on top of her, and then it was a domino effect, and 3 more divider walls actually fell down in our kennels.
The Humane Society went from being able to house around 40 dogs to just 12 and took immediate action. Thankfully, all of the dogs were placed into foster homes the next day. That wasn't the only help the Humane Society received.
One afternoon we had about 50 to 60 people come in with wheelbarrows, and they cleaned out all the concrete of that run. Since then, the walls have been repaired and painted, and we've also had to repair and paint the floors.
With donations from the community and Dr. Casey Fussell of Western Vet Hospital, the Humane Society only has to raise money for the new floors, about $15,000. But having the students back is a bonus.
We'll be able to house more animals in a newer environment, so it's going to look nicer and larger so more students can play with animals at the same time. When you volunteer and play with the animals, it gets them ready to get adopted and used to human interaction.
Some of our animals going into foster homes, many of them were not able to go to foster homes. So what our student population does, and all of our volunteers, is help socialize the animals.
Regular volunteers, like English, understand the importance of student involvement and hope that more students will see the need to volunteer.
It allows the Humane Society to be able to work on like the new construction and stuff and not have to worry about the animals. The animals, they need you. The Humane Society needs you.
The Stillwater Humane Society is always looking for volunteers, foster homes, and people willing to adopt. For more info, visit hspets.org. For the Poke Report, I'm Caleb Surley. Back to you.
Thanks, Caleb. To learn more about how to help the Humane Society and about Director Jackie Ross Guerrero, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Pete's Corner. The Humane Society of Stillwater was once struggling from a lack of organization, but then it took a new direction. John Cotton has the story.
6 years ago, the Humane Society was unorganized and a place people didn't want to go. That's when a new director came in and changed everything.
I'm the director at the Humane Society here in Stillwater, and I've been the director, it'll be 6 years in October.
Animals have always been a huge part of Jackie's life since her time growing up on the farm.
I grew up in Iowa. All my aunts and uncles were farmers, so I always was the one out singing to the cows. I was trying to get the feral cats friendly. I was always taking in the dogs that were dumped out in the country. So I always had a knack for animals. I actually spent 18 years as a public health microbiologist before I actually became the director of here.
Jackie can't do it all alone. She has help from volunteers and a few paid employees.
Started hanging out at the shelter and volunteering before I was hired on. Since then, we've actually become pretty good friends. She's kind of an amazing boss and an amazing person. I like to give her a hard time about being a bleeding heart, just because she really does care, not only about the animals we have here, but our volunteers and our adopters, and just kind of everyone who walks through the door.
The biggest change Jackie's made is the length of time each animal is at the shelter. Animals used to be at the shelter for years, and now it's a matter of weeks before they're gone.
I started as a volunteer, which that's how this shelter is ran, by volunteers. And when I first walked through the door, this small shelter had over 70 dogs and over 50 cats crammed into cages, and they were not clean. There were 2 to 3 dogs per cage, and so I just knew that a change had to be made. So in October, they hired me as director, and I immediately started with off-site adoption events and got a bunch of dogs and cats homes, which I think is the most important part of running a successful animal shelter.
With Jackie at the helm, the Stillwater Humane Society looks to continue putting animals in the hands of people who care. For O-State TV, I'm John Cotton.
Thanks, John. Much of the help the Humane Society receives is from OSU students. Some need service hours for community organizations or other clubs on campus, but others just like dogs, like Boss here. Either way, volunteers build relationships with the animals they see each week. Caitlin Cox has a story on how to adopt one of these furry friends.
The Humane Society of Stillwater is an adoption-guaranteed, nonprofit animal shelter that serves the community of Stillwater, whose mission is to facilitate the placement of stray and unwanted animals in desirable homes. However, Humane Society Director Jackie Ross Guerrero doesn't let just anyone take home their animals.
For the Humane Society, we do have a one-page questionnaire to adopt our animals. There's a few things that we look for. We talk to a lot of landlords because we are a college town, so there's a lot of students that do like to have animals. So if you are renting, we either need a lease agreement stating that you've paid your pet deposit, or a phone number we can call a landlord and make sure that you have paid your pet deposit. We also like to make sure that any current animals that you have are up to date on vaccines, so we ask your veterinarian's phone number. So if you have a current dog and you're trying to find a playmate, we call your veterinarian to see what kind of vet work has been done on that animal, just to make sure that they're up to date on vaccines, or cats, same way.
Guerrero said it is easy for her to tell whether people will be good pet owners just by talking with them. She does not allow anyone to take home an animal without him or her interacting with the animal first, because in the end, the animal is the one who makes the final decision.
When a person comes in and doesn't interact with the animal, doesn't even take them out of the cage and says, I want that one, I was like, no, let's take it outside. Let's see how they interact, because the animals really pick us. We don't pick them.
The Humane Society of Stillwater does have a follow-up program for those who adopt an animal. They are allowed to call or visit the animal up to 6 months after the adoption is finalized, especially the animals who might have special needs.
On the contract that the people sign, we reserve the right for the first 6 months to come and take the animal back from them if we feel like they are not being taken care of. And so if they sign that and I show up and I don't like the way that they're taking care of the animal, we can take the animal back from them.
The Humane Society is always accepting volunteers and donations for these animals. For more information about the Humane Society of Stillwater and the adoption process, you can visit www.hspets.org or visit the shelter at 1710 South Main Street on Tuesday through Friday from 1 to 6 p.m. For Pete's Corner, I'm Caitlin Cox.
That's all we have this week on Pete's Corner. Join us next week as we focus on a different corner of the Stillwater community. I'm Courtney Brown, and thanks for watching.